Hi everyone, how's it going? This is the second contributor office hours, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the ways that I think we're going to start off these contributor office hours is by celebrating the previous contributor of the month. This is something that we started doing last month, and yeah, I just wanted to let you all know, like officially, that we're doing it, and yeah, it's the objective behind it isn't to have like some kind of like unhealthy competition between us or anything, but it really is just a way to show how we appreciate, and we want to also bring awareness to the work that's being done. And then that way, it also gives us an excuse to have a one-on-one chat with you. We record it, and we have a video that then you can use for whatever you want. As you know, last month, I will just open it up here. Last month, or at least for May 2023, the contributor of the month was Shubham. So if you have time, or if you haven't already, you can check out the conversation that I had with him last week. And yeah, so congrats again to Shubham for being the contributor of the month. And and speaking also of Shubham, Shubham was also the first maintainer of the official contributor and maintainer of the project. And yeah, it's just been a really good experience working alongside you already, and or at least up until now. And I just wanted to ask you, what are your plans now that you're a maintainer? I saw you shared an action plan. What do you have in store?
Um, a lot of things to begin with. I have drafted a plan that I've shared with Mohamed. So if we have the time, we'll go through it today itself to get a rough idea of what we're planning to do. But apart from that, yeah, I look to learn a lot and contribute a lot. I have gone through the issues, and the maintainership is something that I plan to add on to whatever I was existingly contributing. Yeah, I plan to help anybody else in any way possible.
Yeah, and you've already been doing it. I mean, since you've started, you've been really very good at interacting through the PRs. It's been and been of a huge help in the first week already. But yeah, the floor is yours if you want, actually, if you want to share a little bit of the action plan, and let us know what the more specific plans are.
Okay, we can maybe do that at the end once we cover all the contribution part and if we have the time left.
Perfect. Sounds great. Cool. So, what I wanted to do, at least to start off with, is to go over the current state of the future working groups. For those contributors on the call now who weren't here the first time, what we decided to do is, when we talk about new features or new initiatives, once there is at least one person ready to get going on the initiative, we open up a section in the working group, the feature working group section on Discord, a channel dedicated to that. And we have three at the moment. The first one that we opened up was the webhook integration that Shubham worked on. Shubham, if I'm not mistaken, the feature is completely finished.
Yep, it's finished and merged as well.
Perfect. So what we'll do is, after this, we'll fully archive that channel, because the idea is that once these working groups have completed the task, we close them out, making them ephemeral channels focused on specific tasks. Um, the second channel is the feature that Avinash has been spearheading, which is the resource dependency graph. Avinash, how's the process been going? You took it on from scratch, and you've been working on it pretty much on your own, and I've seen some great things so far. But would you care to show us a little bit about a little of what you've been working on?
Yeah, I can show. And before that, the PR is up. Now my main task was done. Now it's on to the maintainers to review those 9,000 lines of code. But yeah, let me share my screen quickly. I hope you can see my screen.
We can indeed, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of this issue particularly was to build something which is this, right? So we wanted to have a dependency graph where, along with the resources that you get on the dashboard, you also see how they are dependent on each other, right? How they are connected to each other. So we wanted something like this last month, and I was good enough. I mean, I was able to do something. I don't know if this is exactly what I did, but eventually I end up making this. So this is the this my the dashboard is currently connected to the my account, and I'm having my three resources instances running, and they are two of them are connected to an EIP, Elastic IP, and all those individual instances have their own dependent resources, which is VPC blocks and all those things. So yeah, this is how it would look. Maybe we'll have some another piece to it, but I'm still in discussion with the maintainers if we should have that. Uh, if it goes that way, we'll have a new page, or else we'll keep it this way as well. Um, we have used like initially I'll begin with how I started with the thinking process of and ended up with this is, so the very first few days I was very much into seeing for available solutions in the industry as of now, like maybe we can use those things in order to build this graph. And I was shocked enough to see that we don't, right? So there was no particular resource that we can use it in order to bring this thing into reality. So what I did is I talked to a few folks from the industry itself, from the AWS team particularly, because we're supporting AWS for now. We will be supporting AWS for now. So I talked to them and they suggested me some tools, but then that was not something we could have done with this. So eventually I had to hard code things, and the logic behind if a particular instance is connected to a EIP or not is hard coded for now. And for now, we are only supporting instances and EIPs and associated things with EIP, right? The instance, sorry. So I had to write those logic over here, and then eventually what I did is, if you know some architecture about how Composer work is, I'll just give you that as well, a little bit brief into to it. So what we do is for now in Composer and is to let me just go quickly to the providers inside Azure AWS. Let me just do this as well. Yeah. So for now, what we do is at individual resource level, we collect information about those resources. And if you see over here, the only change that I did was to create a new function, which is get relation. And this function will be similar kind of functions will exist in all those resources, and which will be added in future. And the way we do is we manually look for the link, the possible link between two resources. For now, in EIP, we'll check for instances, and we are checking, and then we are sending these data uh, to the database, and eventually from database to your Mohammed, I did the change over here. I need to push it. So this URL to the front end, and the front end will give us this of React Flow, which is a library to give graphs and all those things. But when I was working on it, one problem with React Flow, and it's not actually a problem, but a feature that I was expecting and React Flow was not providing is the dynamic positioning of these nodes. So in case you are using React Flow, you would need to give an X coordinate and Y coordinate to these nodes. And writing an algorithm to give those X and Y coordinate so that it gives us a graph like this or maybe a graph like this would be a really hard job. And so what I did is I used a layout called ELKJS, which is giving us the positioning of this. So this entire thing is a combination of React Flow, which is the graph part. You see these things, and the positioning is by the ELKJS. thing. So UI is still not that good. We would change this later on, but I'll take a quick time to just share this thing. So I was when I was done with the backend and I was started to work with the front end part of it, which is TypeScript and all those things. I knew something about it, but when I started, it felt like, oh no, I should not. Front end is not my thing. And I remember I messaged in the channel as well that, hey, can I get some help with the front end part? And then after sending that message, I felt like, oh, should I mean, I call myself as developer and I'm just backing off with something which is development. So I took that as challenge, and eventually I was with some help of one of my friend, I get this what you see. So yeah, this is up and this is the PR. We'll have There are some changes to be done, and as soon as it's merged, we'll have this feature.
Amazing, and I mean, you absolutely did a fantastic job spearheading this from the get go. And even though you've been working on it pretty much on your own, even though you might have asked a couple of friends for help, there's definitely room for other contributors to help you out, right? Because in your opinion, do you think that the front end part is going to need the most amount of work, or is it the actual part of adding that function to all of the different resource files that's going to need to be added, right? For the resources to be picked up in the graph.
Yeah. So in the backend side where you get relations and all those things, yeah, there would be some work that we need to do over there, but that work would be now simpler, and it won't. You just need to write a function that gives you relation that checks for relationship between two resources, and you just send it along with the data that usually goes, right. You don't need to do much. So it's more like a good first issue over there, open to new contributors and any contributor over there. I think Shubham and I had a call, and we decided that we might take a day or something, and we'll give a full support to AWS, and like we might do that way as well. But I think the front end part, because I'm not that good with UI and all those stuff, so maybe we can improve this a lot. I had Shubham has shared some good, amazing ideas, like we can implement those things. So we might create an issue, and people can contribute, collaborate, have fun.
Perfect, yeah, amazing. But so just to be clear, you don't think that we're going to need one specific good first issue for every single AWS resource, right? Maybe we'll just have one kind of like big issue in which is just kind of like create resource dependency support for all of AWS, and then we just kind of like maybe tag team and work on that on a day or two, or
Yeah, I think what we can do is we can create a single issue, parent issue, and then uh, keep that as a keep individual resources as task, and people can assign that link to that particular issue, PR it, and then we can just tick mark those resources that we will do instead of creating the whole new issue for a new resource, because it is just a simple function, like as I shared over here as well, that let me just quickly go where it was. Oops, that's a hard part. Yeah. So if you see what backend would require help is with, like, if I just go to instances, would need to just write a function this way, which will check. So here you can see it is checking for security group and resource block and all those things. So you would need to write a single function, and then what you do is just create a new parameter, which is a relation, and you just return those get results from here to this place, and that's it. And this we have to do for individual resources.
yeah, as exactly as you said, and as Kunal says, their parent issue with the checklist. I think that'll be the best way forward, because if not, then we'll almost spend more time working with opening and closing issue tickets on GitHub. Perfect. Thanks a million. Incredible status report on the resource dependency graph working group. Moving on to the next working group, Philip, I see that you're here since you've been spearheading the Onboarding Wizard working group so far. This is a working group in which you've been a little bit kind of like your hands have been tied, because there's been a few dependencies that the design team has been working on. We had a meeting last week, so Ali, the designer who's been working specifically on the wireframes could give you a bit of a heads up to show you the way it would more or less look. But since we're all here, Ali, I think you also have the wireframes, and you might be able to show the rest of us what the onboarding wizard would look like. And then after that, Philip, I'll give you the floor so you can tell us what the process has been like and what your plans are for the next steps.
Of course, Jake. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. So let me share my screen really quickly. I can show you a bit of a small prototype for a user journey with the new onboarding wizard. So just a heads up for you, Philip. We've changed a few of these illustrations, so don't be surprised. It's been quite recent, but yeah, overall the flow is the same. So as you can see now, when you put up a commissar without having anything set up, you'll be welcomed with this screen so that you can connect your cloud accounts and connect your database from commissar instead of doing it through a file as we've been doing so far. So first of all, we can pick which cloud provider we want to use. We have a little bit of visual feedback on the right as well. So let's go with Amazon Web Services. We can also suggest a cloud provider. So this is a good way for us to know which cloud providers if the users would like us to support and to get more feedback in that regard. We then have a form that will change depending on what source the user wants to use. So for example, here we're using the credentials file, but for Amazon Web Services, we have like the credentials keys, the environment variables, and the IAM instance role options as well. The idea is that we try to handhold a little bit more on this process, and we make available like guides through videos, for example, that could help. The documentation is also available through this link here at the top, but the idea is that the video should help a little bit more with the process. And then, yeah, we can just fill out the form. If there's an error, there will always be feedback showcasing what that error would look like and try to support the user on the journey as much as possible. So there's a mistake here. I wrote commis instead of commissar, my bad. So let's fill that in. So all the fields are complete. Now it's possible to add the cloud account. And as you can see here on the right, it pops up. So we'll always have some sort of like visual feedback as to what cloud accounts have been connected. And here we can edit or delete the cloud accounts that we've connected. So this might be useful if we're adding multiple ones and then we find out that we inputted the wrong one, or like we didn't actually want to connect that one. So we always have that flexibility here. So moving on, we can connect now the database. So first of all, we need to pick which database we want to persist the account data on. So for example, we have the PostgreSQL and the SQLite. We can pick which one we want. Let's go with Postgres. Here again, we have a form, which makes it easier than like filling in the details on a file. And again, we have a check to make sure everything's all right and well set up. So if we're able to recognize that the database is not connecting for some reason, we let the user know. So in this case, I think I put the wrong password, so I'll change that. And now it's working. So the database is connected and my data is being synced. And now I have like a message showcasing that the time that the data takes to sync might change depending on the complexity of the setup that we've made. But we can start by opening Commissar and browsing through it. And yeah, that's the first part of the onboarding wizard. But of course, this has a few implications, namely on how we manage the cloud accounts. So we needed to add a page for the cloud accounts. So now on Commissar, now we have like a cloud accounts page. So this is what people who have already set up their cloud accounts in their database will see. So not only for people who have started using Commissar recently, but also for people who have been using it in the past. So all the configuration is still there, nothing is lost, but they will be able, now it'll be easier to manage. So by going into cloud accounts, we can see the list of the cloud accounts. So in this case, I have two connected, and we can browse through all cloud providers or just Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure. This will change depending on which cloud providers you have connected. And you also have like a status telling you um, what's the status of this cloud account. So in this case, this one's connected, but this one has a permissions issue. So this also makes it easier to troubleshoot and to make sure that everything is running smoothly and well connected. So let's add a cloud account. The flow is pretty similar to the onboarding wizard, just a little bit like smaller inside a model in this case. So again, we can pick which cloud provider we want or suggest one, move forward. We can change the source. So in this case, let's go with the credential keys to show how the form changes. We can fill in details and add the cloud accounts. And the cloud account has been added. So now we have status here saying that the cloud account is being synced. So this is also nice when a user just connected their accounts to know like when everything has actually been loaded and everything is synced. So in this case, it was actually really quickly. Everything is connected now. The user can also edit the cloud account, so change the cloud account details in this case, and also remove the accounts. So we'll make a double check that the user wants to remove the account because in this case it will impact everything they've done through Commissar. So for example, custom views and tags. So we let the user know. But yes, I do want to remove this cloud account. So the cloud account has been removed. And to see the permissions issue in more detail, I can also open the cloud account and I can see what the issue is. So this will make it easier again to troubleshoot if there's some sort of issue with the cloud account. But for now, I'll just let it be like this and pass the word on to you, Jake. So thank you.
Perfect. Thanks a million, Ali. That looks absolutely amazing. I just wanted to let if anyone has a question, feel free to ask away. But in the meantime, Philip, what's the process been like? How's the what have you been working on up until now, and what steps do you see in the short term future?
Yeah, sure. So I've begun work on the onboarding wizard. I'll go back to make some changes based on the changes Ali just made, but I could just go ahead to share my screen for the progress.
For sure.
Yeah. So basically now I put the onboarding wizard behind the beta flag. So once you open up Commissar, it routes you to the onboarding wizard. Then you can pick whatever cloud platform and it syncs the logo as planned, depending on whatever platform you have set up. So we could go with Azure. I've begun work on Azure and AWS. And currently, suggest a cloud provider takes you to how to request a feature, although we could change that in the documentation. For Azure that I've worked on more, when you click next, it takes you down here. You could open up how to connect the documentation for cloud providers through clicking the adding an Azure account link. I just put this stop here for the video. For when the Azure video is ready, you could set up the account name, the tenant ID, client ID, and all that. You could go back as well. And that's that for Azure. I would make additional updates to sync the front end and the back end as well over time. AWS as well that I started with. We have this stop for AWS as well. This route also to the AWS documentation. And of course, additional updates will be coming in for AWS as well. The drop down and the inputs and all that. So that's kind of like the progress for onboarding wizard. Still have additional changes. I think based off the new UI changes, we would be making I'll be moving this out to match the new illustration for onboarding wizard, and additional changes will be following as well.
Amazing. Yeah. You implemented that quite quickly since you just saw the wireframes just a few days ago. Well done. I just wanted to quickly ask you: is there anything that you see that you're going to need any particular help on? Do you think is there anything that other contributors could contribute to this stage of this of the feature?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we could split it up. Other contributors could start from the aspect that has to do with working with Onboarding Wizard from the dashboard. Then currently now I'm still working on making changes to the UI. So if anyone is interested in working on the backend as well, that's also a possibility. So that I mean, we'll just probably just have regular calls so that we can look at how we can connect the UI changes and the backend as well. So those are places that we could start with. Since I'm already working on the onboarding flow from fresh commercial setup, they could start with working on onboarding flow within the dashboard after some accounts have been set up and all that, and then the backend as well.
Amazing. So yeah, I saw that Shubham has already been collaborating and communicating with you on the Onboarding Wizard channel on Discord. So if any other contributors wants to help out or at least ask a few questions or see how they could help Phillip out, feel free to do so on the Onboarding Wizard Discord channel. Perfect. Thanks a million. Let me just see. I think there was a question here regarding. I think I saw it a little bit earlier up. Oh yeah. Shubham asked, does this remove the config.toml file from the setup entirely? Or so in other words, does the onboarding wizard remove the config.toml file?
Yeah, from my hand, I think what we can do is still write into the config.toml file using the changes from the UI and just sync it with the backend to keep the config.toml file updated using the backend.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, the onboarding wizard will populate the config.toml file, right? It's not that it's the config.toml file is going away, but
Exactly.
and then if you actually do want to go in and just modify it directly, it'll be open to you, but you wouldn't need to edit the file directly now that the onboarding wizard is available. Perfect, cool. Thanks for the question, Shubham, and also Shubham, thanks for sharing the channel in the chat. Perfect. So moving on, I wanted to speaking also about how contributors can get involved. I wanted to talk about the different initiatives and the different ways that contributors can help us at this particular moment. If you, and I'll share my screen, if you head over to the Commissar repository and head over to the issues, you'll see that there's a new tag, which is, well, it's not new, sorry, but there's new issues with the tag for anyone that's interested in contributing to UI or UX issues, which have to do with some consistency or misconsistencies in the front end. The majority of these issues have to do with Figma files and implementations that aren't 100% matching. So if you're in the mood to contribute to the front end, pick up one of those new issues. Secondly, from some of the conversations that we've been having with Shubham and from other contributors, we see that the most amount of value that can be added is going to be around, at least in the short-term future, is going to be around adding more support for cost calculation for the services. So if you're ever looking through the issues and you're wondering which one to pick up, if you pick up an issue that has to do with cost calculation for some sort of cloud resource, we would prefer that if as opposed to supporting a new supporting a new cloud resource. And because commissar will really benefit from having just more granular and more concise cost calculations. Another new tag that was added was the good second issue. This is also one of Shubham's initiatives. So these are issues that maybe are like a little bit more complex, or at least they have a little bit more to them. So if you see a good second issue and you feel that you would like to jump on one of those, feel free to do so. Sorry, just going back now to the cost calculation that we would kind of push towards improving. There's also an initiative which is around supporting open cost. Now, open cost is an open source project that aims to help or to bring cost-related info to Kubernetes clusters. This is an idea and a feature that's been on the board for a while, and it'll be really interesting if someone would like to pick it up to see how we can bring cost information to the pod level and to the different Kubernetes resource objects level. If anyone would like to work on this, either reach out on the contributors channel or in the general channel, or reach out to either Shubham or to anyone on the team, and then we could open up the specific working group channel on Discord and start collaborating that way. Let me just see. I'm looking at my notes here to see that we're not forgetting anything. One thing, I know that there's new contributors and there's people kind of discovering the project every week. So if you are thinking about contributing and you don't necessarily have all of the information just yet, know that you can find this Notion page. I'm just going to drop it here in the chat. I'm also going to add it to the description of the YouTube video that I'll upload a little bit later on. So here in this Notion page, we go through the different steps that we would recommend for you to take, along with linked resources to know exactly what should be done if you want to become a contributor. Also, there's the roadmap to become a maintainer, along with, I'm also going to share this Loom video that Mohamed put together that just explains everything a little bit more in detail. And yeah, hopefully this is as clear as possible to make it as frictionless as possible for you to contribute, if that's something that you would like to do. Also, just trying not to forget anything here. Yeah, we've to the majority of the people that are on this call now, and to the majority of people who have been contributing as of late, we've sent out some goodies. Unfortunately, the package isn't as big and as full of stuff as we would have wanted, since we're trying to find the best way to reach the distributed group that we are for the larger package. But I think we've sent a small batch of goodies to everyone here, and please let me know directly if in the next 2 weeks if they don't arrive, because hopefully they should reach everyone on this call at least. Just trying to think to see if there's anything that we're missing. Let's see. Yeah, no, sorry. We've just sent them out quite recently, so at least give it a couple of weeks. If there's anything I'm missing, Mohamed, feel free to write it in the chat. But I think we covered most of our bases for today. Oh, actually, one thing that I did forget is that we're going to start off, and thanks to Shubham for this idea, we're going to start with a week, or at least once every 2 weeks, a just a general meeting for maintainers in which we'll get together and we'll talk about alignment on the different features and how we can best help out. This isn't closed to only maintainers. This is for any contributor that has any question or is working towards becoming a maintainer. We'll make these meetings public so you can join. So it'll be a little bit different to the contributor office hours, which is more about like showcasing and demoing and talking about the future. The meetings with the maintainers will be about kind of resolving specific issues or aligning on specific topics. Oh yeah, and actually speaking of alignment, Shubham, would you like to share the action plan that you referenced at the top of the call?
Yep, definitely.
Cool.
Probably make me a presenter and then I'll present the screen. Let me know once it's visible. Is it visible now? So, hey everyone, I am back. So this is something that I started to document once I knew I was becoming a maintainer, so that there is transparency and everybody knows okay what's the plan ahead. If you all have any suggestions, because this is the first time of me as well actively maintaining a project. I wanted to make sure I got everything in there. I got it reviewed from Mohamed as well. It must have taken him a lot of time, but yeah. So I'll quickly go through all the plans that I have, and I am really open to any feedback, criticism right now, because I think it's going to help the project. So yeah. So on the top, I've divided the document or my plans into certain categories like administration, codes, community, etc. So start with the administration. The first is that all the PRs that we merge should be squashed and merged to develop. So basically, let's say when you're interacting with Git, sometimes you run into issues. So your PR has 7 commits, and somebody who is well versed with Git might just have 1 commit. So it's better that since both of you developed one feature, it should ideally go as one feature in the main branch. So that is the initial. These are the small pointers that I think will help us more. And apart from that, I plan to add versioning in the documentation, but then Mohamed shared a documentation from Dockersaurus where they clearly mentioned that it is better to not have documentation unless it's really necessary. So this is still up for discussion because we do not currently have any breaking changes yet. So this is something that is still in the talks. And apart from that, we had a status page in the organization readme that wasn't up. So that has been removed. And for the feature working groups, as Jake already discussed, we are planning to have a sort of weekly or bi-weekly call so that we can remove the friction or whatever issues we're having so that we can have a smooth process. Now apart from that, we also deleted the stale branches that we had on our repository today. We had around 12 to 14 of them. Right now we just have 2, that is our release branch master and our usual branch develop where you open all your PRs to. And apart from that, just now Mohamed just before this call also changed your base branches for a default PR to develop. So now before a PR you do not have to change it from master to develop every time. And now also I've recently started to audit the existing issues since I think we right now have 201 of them. We're trying to figure out which ones have already been done, which ones need some sort of changes, which ones have bug which we can reproduce or are already fixed. So we are trying to get those also sorted. So if you find an issue that is open, then that's a bug or a feature that we need to fix. And apart from that, I just opened the issue. The good second issue that Jake also talked about is that our current AWS policies are certain time shows you errors in the logs that hey, I do not have permission for this. And also the policy right now has wildcards, that is it allows user or the IAM role you create from that policy to read your resources, to read your S3 objects, which we ideally do not need. So we are also planning to cut down on those resources to make it so granular. So the issue for that is already up. If anybody wants to take and need some help, please ping me. I would be glad to help you with that. And so these are the rough plans that I have for administration. And if anybody has any feedback for these, or I'll skip to the next part now, and maybe we can have the feedback at the end. So, okay. Now coming to the code section, So this is a very general for endpoint to make sure if there's any enhancement, anything that can be done. That let's say like even if it can save of 4 MBs of runtime of data, I'll try to find that out while reviewing PRs or anything. Now apart from that, as Jake also mentioned, we will now try to focus more on adding cost calculation, because we already cover a lot of resources. Even if we get cost calculations for all of them, it will really help everybody. Now apart from that, one thing is to start having tests in the repository. This is again a long goal, but once we start it, this will help us gradually build to the project and make it easier for the CI pipeline and for PR openers as well to understand, okay, if it's failing anywhere, and they can reproduce it locally. Now apart from that, there's this one small pointer that we can start generating SBOM. So SBOM in very layman terms is basically documenting all the dependencies that we use and whatever you have. So if any enterprise wants to use it, they can just verify, okay, do we have the enterprise's license to use this or not. This is again like something, this is open for discussion. As you can see, Mohamed has put a very detailed feedback in front of every point. So I'll share the link for this as well in the YouTube video to Jake, so that you all can also put your comments. It would be really helpful for us. And yeah, you can just unmute and suggest right now itself. Now coming to the community part, I'll try to join most of the contributor office hours and try to help in wherever I can. And now Mohamed also suggested one more thing, that we can have an entire architecture diagram of the code base as to how we have split it, what does the dashboard does, what does the internal APIs do, what does everything does, so that a first time contributor gets the real idea, okay, for this I have to go here, this is how the entire repository or the project works, because that is something that usually first time contributor gets stuck for, that hey, where do I start, I want to add this feature but I do not know where to. So this should ideally help them where to focus their attention to. And then we also plan to design this contribution ladder that a lot of open source projects have taken up, that is based on your contributions and your interaction with the community, helping fellow peers, like you can get rated, you can get swag, shoutouts and everything. So this keeps you involved in the game and helps you stay motivated to contribute and be a part of the Comiser community. Now apart from that, we also plan to figure out how we can start giving talks, spread out Comiser in the community, start networking in offline meetups. If you have a proposal, it would be great if you could share it with us, we can take a look, so that would also be helpful. Now in terms of awareness, we'll try to post one article, video series, anything that highlights why Comiser stands out, or why as a company or just as a sysadmin, why you should give it a shot, to make sure you can at least save $1. Even if you do that, Comiser works, right? So that's one thing. And apart from that, these are a few random ideas that just popped in my head, so I put them under my need more ideation. This first one is something that I would like to try. So Jake has done something very similar, that is like just doing a live session, finding out an issue, and now just walking through the entire journey of how you can solve that issue, open a PR, see your Git, everything. So that gives a really good motivation for the first time contributor. Okay, this is the rough process that I need to follow. Let's start. So that is one thing. Now one thing that I also had in mind is these Instagram reel or a YouTube short. So I'm not on Instagram, but I do see my friends sharing me all those reels. So one thing is that what is it like to be a maintainer, like, because it is fascinating. So what are the steps that go behind it, so that people try to get more involved. That's just a fun aspect. It has nothing, if you don't want, I'll not do it. And apart from that, in the Comiser maintainer program that Jake and Mohamed shared, they mentioned that we also get access to cloud or tailwarden. It's something I really wanted to try, that hey, okay, how does this look like, how is our cloud service looks like. So that is something that I really look forward to trying. And apart from that, to be a part of the team and see how we shape up the roadmaps, what to build next, and how to figure that out. And yeah, at the end, I plan to have a monthly feedback call with the team to understand where I lag, where we can improve as a community, and that. And yeah, lastly, I added these KPIs, just random KPIs, to keep a metric of, okay, where are we doing, how was the last one. But then Mohammed mentioned you already do that using crowd.dev, which is an amazing website which I found out that there and there. So this is pretty much it. I'm really open to any feedback, criticism, suggestions, and yeah, just last thing to add on, would absolutely love to collaborate on any of this if anybody's up for it. So let me know. It would be a pleasure. So yeah, I think I've spoken for a lot of time. would be good to get some feedback or some discussion. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks a million. I was off these last couple of days, so I wasn't able to add my feedback there, but I definitely will be adding it. And thanks a million for the idea of adding a link to this checklist that you've put up onto the video, and then that way other people can find it and we can collaborate that way. But also feel free to share it directly in any of the Discord channels, since it's really relevant and really good stuff there. Okay, so if anyone has any questions or anything left to add, either write it in the chat or unmute and speak directly. Feel free, and if not, we can leave it there for today.
Yeah, if I might add something, can you hear me first?
I hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, like just wanna say thanks a lot, for Shubham for being our first maintainer and for the documents. It's really very exhaustive. So looking forward to share it maybe on the contributor channel so that we can also gather the feedback from the rest of the community. And also, as Jake mentioned, we are going to kick off those weekly meetings. It will be like a short meeting, 10-15 minutes every week, maybe every Friday. We can decide on the date together on the contributor channel, where we can like just synchronize and see how features are going, and also there's any issues or challenges that we can help with. Because I think like the office hours is a good opportunity, but maybe it will be quite late for us to depend only on the office hours to catch up and synchronize together. So maybe having this short weekly meeting can help people to be in touch with us and also help them when needed. Another thing is I was really impressed by all the demos, especially like the demo with done by Avinash on the dependency graph, but also the onboarding wizard. Like I know that those features didn't had any wireframes to start with, so they were quite difficult to implement, and I was really impressed by the quality like of the implementation of the work. So really great job, everyone. I'm really impressed. I don't think I would be able to implement those kind of like details, especially on the onboarding wizard, on the UI part. I'm not that good when it comes to front end. So I'm always impressed when I see people able to deliver those features on a short amount of time, because I remember that you had Philip the discussion with Ali just a couple of days ago, and you were able to deliver that feature like in a short amount of time. So really kudos for that, and also for Avinich, like the dependency graph. It's a really technical feature, to be able like to collect the dependencies and be able to draw the data as nodes, and position the nodes in a proper way so that the graph is not messy. It's a lot of complexity and edge cases to handle. So I'm really impressed with that. So looking forward to what those features would be in the upcoming weeks, since now Ali will be also working on the wireframes to make the visual aspect better and also seamless and efficient. But beside that, really great job, everyone. So looking forward for the upcoming days. As I said, we can synchronize on the contributor channels. Maybe Shubham, you can share the document that you have just presented, and we can plan it all together and decide how we want to collaborate on those actions. And also we are going maybe to do a poll too, so that we can vote for the time for this weekly meeting, so that we can have a meeting on a weekly basis where we can synchronize. Again, nothing to prepare for, just like 10-15 minutes meeting. So just we keep it informal and just a way for us to have a placeholder where we can jump on a call if needed, and we take it from there. And that's pretty much it from my side. So thanks everyone again for the demos.
Thanks everyone. Yeah. If you have I see there's a conversation going there in the chat. Feel free to continue over in the contributor channel. Thanks a million. Have a great week, and see you next time.